What's up guys, how you doing? This is eSports Machina, and 7 months ago I did this video called Will Esports Keep Growing? And it's a 9-minute video. If you have the time, please check it out first, because this is essentially a sequel to that video. So today I shall be talking about the sustainability of league formats in esports and look at the current growth of esports in terms of finance and viewership and the game pool. But the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the leagues. So the thing that confuses me a bit is that none of the big companies, whatever it's Blizzard, Riot Games, Hi-Rez, Valve, Twitch, ESL, DreamHack, none of them have done a study regarding how many of the viewership, the people who are watching esports, watch sports or have watched sports in the past. Because I believe this is a very important metric that should be researched in esports. Because if there's a situation, and this is my hunch, let's go with that one, so I don't have proof for it because, like I said, there's no research on it, but I would say maybe up to 80% of the people who watch esports don't watch sports or never been interested in watching at sports. I'm one of those people. I don't watch sports and I never really have, especially have not watched any type of league games. I may have watched the Olympics or some hockey finals, but I really not have watched sports at all. Sometimes with another eye when the TV was on or something like that. But essentially this metric is very important, and here's why. Because a lot of the companies, especially Riot Games, have been very vocal about that. Oh, they're doing this at NBA or MLB, we should implement that thing as well. And just because something is done at real sports doesn't mean that it will work or is cost efficient in esports. And that's the thing what I'm going to tackle first, which is this league format. And in my opinion, and based on my personal research, it doesn't look like that many people in esports prefer the league format over the tournament circuit, of having an open tournament circuit, something like that exists in tennis or golf, where you have multiple tournaments where people can enter and teams can enter, seems to be the better model when it comes to viewership. And I would probably bet that it would be also cost efficient, unless you're renting like huge stadiums, that it would be probably more cheaper to do small IEM events rather than running a 10-week season on the studio. And there are obviously some indications which lead me to think that I'm right about this. And one of the things that I'm going to take example of LCS, because it has existed for such a long time, is that in the season 3 when it started, and right now we're in season 6, those who don't watch League of Legends, in season 3, the NA/LCS viewership tended to be always over 100,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch, even when the two bottom tier teams were playing against each other, which were not popular, by the way. And right now, when I was watching this week, I saw games in NA/LCS with 67k on concurrent viewers on Twitch, and that is not a very good number. EU was at somewhere between 47,000 concurrent. I know it's a spring split, which is not popular as the summer because it doesn't matter as much, but in the end of the day, the spring numbers in 2013 and 2014 LCS, and even in 2015, were much better. And what they have done obviously this season is increase the amount of the games going to the best of 3 format, which I personally believe just makes the situation that each individual game is gonna matter less, because more you increase games, each individual game will matter less, while in a tournament each of the games are more important, especially if there's not a group stage. It's like a double elimination bracket or just a straight single elimination bracket. And this seems to be a bit of a problem. And now we're going to go to talk about this Overwatch League, which was announced already a while ago, but right now there came an information on the bidding prices on the slots at the Overwatch League. And I want to start by saying that the Overwatch eSports events like Apex, which is run in Korea with English casting with Monte Cristo and Doha, for example, don't get that very good viewership. I think the average viewership for the Apex, even for the playoffs, was like at 40K. That's not very much for the biggest tournament that exists right now. The BlizzCon numbers were not very impressive either. And the problem right now is that Blizzard is actually putting a price point to 2 to 5 million to people to buy into the Overwatch League, which means that those people, those organizations that are not on venture capital essentially don't have the money. Only team that has not been bought by a venture capital probably is TSM, and that is probably the only team that you probably will see at OEL. Others will be those real sports teams that have bid into this league. And here's the danger. These are the doom-saying words, and people can come back to this video to either call me fucking Socrates or fucking Nostradamus, or people can call me a fucking clown or an idiot. But, I mean, not really an idiot, because I'm just kind of like assessing the information that I right have, and I'm making an assumption. I'm not saying this is facts. So I'm not really an idiot, but I made a wrong calculation if I'm wrong, okay? So the problem here is that one of the reasons the esports scene has grown right now is because of the venture capital money coming in. However, I don't think that there has been very many non-endemic sponsors coming in. We saw Gillette at IEM, but outside than that, I haven't really seen that many new sponsors coming in. It's still the Samsungs and, well, the Korean brands are very integrated in esports. And then you have your G Fuels and, you know, Razer and, you know, will make like computer gear. But the problem here is that Overwatch League doesn't excite me. The game is, in my opinion, in my honest opinion, is not maybe the best viewing experience. I tried to get into it. I played the game. I like the game. But I really want to get into the Overwatch esports, but I really can't get into it. Maybe it's because the character, I don't really know the players enough, and their personalities, there hasn't been really big drama or something like that, or their stories or their featurettes are not really displayed too well on the community. There are many reasons for that, why I couldn't, or just the game itself is not very easy to follow as a viewer perhaps, or it's just kind of like hard to cast. Maybe it's too fast game to be casted. There can be many indications for that. And so the problem that can exist from this Overwatch League that will run this year is that if the viewership is going to be shit, 30K, I call that shit. 40K, that is shit too. And people are buying in. These big companies are coming in from NBA, MLB, buying these $1 million slots. And the LA slot is actually bidding for 10 to 15 million. That's a fucking lot of money. And the problem here is that when they buy those slots and realize the viewership is really bad and they're not getting return for their investment, all of those big companies that have invested in esports will go away. It will be CGS again, the esports recession, right? That's what will be happening again. That industry, I will say this, the industry might go back 5 to 10 years if these people leave. If the Overwatch League flops, it's going to be a really, really bad thing. And I think the other problem is that the people who come from MLB and NBA, they came too late to the LCS when the viewership was really, really high, when they could have gotten really, really good values for money return. And let's remember, one of the big things that is happening today a lot is the venture capital stuff. So let's take example like Spotify, Netflix. They have big user bases, but they are on minus. They are not making enough money return yet. Not yet. There's an indication that they might, but there's a problem right now in League of Legends, for example, where they are paying too much of salaries on expectation that one day that there will be money coming in back from the league, while as the LCS numbers indicate, when I talked about them earlier, they have been dropping quite drastically. In 3 years, the numbers went down to half. You don't see that in NBA. There might be a bit of ups and downs, but I believe it has not gone down by half. No chance. No chance. And that is a big problem right now, which I kind of already pointed out, that I don't think the league format is a successful model in esports. I'm not a person who runs big events, so I don't know the cost, but I would assume that renting a medium stadium with 1,000 people and doing a weekend tournament like the old MLG and IEM events that they used to run might be more profitable for the organizations than running these expensive multi-week leagues. And I just believe it's just a huge shit show if this Overwatch League is going to flop, because a lot of the big people are going to leave from the industry. And what I already talked about on the previous video, that one of the biggest points that I made that nobody talks about except me apparently, that the esports always will need great games. And right now, there hasn't been a game that has really passed that 100K mark in a long time. We haven't really had a game that could have surpassed that number. Smash is doing okay, Street Fighter is doing okay, but you have a lot of games that have a price tag on them like Halo, Rainbow Six Siege. Both are good games, nice viewership. I was watching Halo last night, but it had 10K viewers. 10K viewers only. And I'm not saying that's a bad number, but the problem is when you don't have accessibility for the game, when it's priced at $60, there's not going to be many viewers because people don't know the game or haven't played it. Obviously, there are games that you can get into without having or played the game. But I see a huge issue right now of putting shit ton of money into these league formats. And let's remember, LCS is not profitable. LCS is not making money back by selling those $10 ticket seats to the small stages that they have on EU and NA. That's not happening. Probably they're giving some of the tickets away for free to fill the stadium and not to look empty. That's not where they're getting their money. You know, obviously they're selling stuff inside their game, which is making them profit. We don't know those metrics, how much growth is esports giving them. But for the most part, LCS is probably not running on profit. And we have to accept that this information and be honest about these things, that maybe these leagues are way too expensive to be owned. And the other problem is that the Hi-Rez and Blizzard and Riot, all of them are running their own leagues. And all of those three have essentially created a monopoly where there's no other people who have rights to run events on, especially Riot's case. I don't know what is the situation with Hi-Rez, but I don't see IEM doing a Smite event or DreamHack doing a lot of Smite events. I mean, they had some type of invitational there, but for the most part, I think there's a bit of a problem if we're moving to the whole monopoly system and we're keeping on this league format without actually seeing any types of profits. Maybe somebody can come forward from Hi-Rez, or maybe somebody who's running the WCS, the StarCraft League. Are these profitable? Are these really profitable leagues? Are they actually making money back, or are they running on are they going bankrupt essentially on these leagues? Is it a minus? Is it a negative? And the problem is that because they're still running them, some other people may think that, oh, these leagues are actually very sustainable, we should do it too, without knowing actually they're not. And there has to be a discussion about this. Are leagues really good in esports? Like I said, it might work in sports. People in sports might like the league format, but I prefer the tournament format. Having a one tournament every second weekend or every weekend is pretty cool. And you will see more international play, and which is something that people always prefer over domestic play, at least in League of Legends. And for the most part in StarCraft 2, you would probably say, as in Dota and CSGO too. And we have things like E-League 2, obviously. I didn't touch upon it much, but the numbers weren't that great for it in terms of viewers, and they dropped down quite a lot from the first week and the season 1. But then again, for Turner, it was profitable. The expense that they had on the show was not that much actually. The production value was actually rather cheap for them, and they were profiting from Counter-Strike, CSGO. And now they picked up Street Fighter 5. I don't know how that's going to work, but I don't think that they're going to lose a lot of money on it though. And they have obviously the stuff on TV, and TV ads, by the way, pay like 50 times more than shit on Twitch. The CPMs are, because you can't block it on TV, the ads, they pay like, we're talking about $50 CPMs here, while in Twitch might be less than $1. And that is, so I'm very worried I don't want to prolong this video any longer. I'm very worried about the situation that if the Overwatch League is going to shit the fucking bed, a lot of people are going to leave esports, and it's going to give a same type of a stigma that happened on CGS, where a lot of people had to recover, lost their jobs. And we can go into watching a lot of videos about Richard Lewis or DJ Wheat. A lot of people, Red Eye, all of them have talked about the CGS and what of a shit show it was, and how many jobs were lost because they believe that this is going to be a thing that's going to last forever. But it turns out they were careless with the money. They were spending money unwisely, and they were not making enough money back. And what was the cause of CGS fall was the money, but also what I talked about in my first video. There has to be good games. They didn't have very good games at CGS. They had Source, Dead or Alive. I mean, these were not really like top tier games. And the big problem right now is we need a new game that's going to be huge. It's going to bring those numbers back. It's going to create a new pool of players that are interested in watching esports. Right now, I'm having really hard time watching the LCS because I'm not really interested in domestic play. And Overwatch, as I said, it's not a game that I'm interested in watching because it's not the best viewer experience. And there's other games which have their other problems as well. And it's hard. I admit, it's really hard to create a perfect esports title because it kind of has to be very low priced, $15 or free to play, to have a higher viewership. It has to be accessible. It has to be fun, and it has to be something that gets content throughout time. And that's just kind of wrapping the video here. If you have thoughts, I would like to know, as the esports viewer that are watching this video, have you watched sports before? Do you like sports? Do you watch sports and esports at the same time? And do you like the league format, or do you like the tournament format? Okay, cheers. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon on the next video.